Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Menswear Style Podcast. I'm your host, Peter Brooker, and today on the show, I'm excited to bring on a couple of old friends, Chris Beastall and Eli Ankutse. They are the founders of Pelota, and that is Pelota spelt Pelota. They are sporting clothiers, bridging the gap between sport and leisure. Pelota are purveyors of stylish comfort, and their garments are constructed from organic cotton, recycled materials and vegan-friendly sources. Their fit is athletic yet forgiving, and we're going to get into all of that soon. All the show notes we'll put over on menswearstyle.co.uk over time, but for now, let me bring in Chris and Eli to talk about Pelota. All right, well, listen, it's my great pleasure to introduce to the podcast Eli Ankutse and Chris Beastall, the founders of Pelota. How are we doing today, gents?
Very, very well, thanks, Pete. Great to be on the podcast. Very honoured to be on the Menswear Style Podcast. So thanks for inviting us.
Oh, yeah, it's good to be here. And obviously, I know we've been trying to tee this up since pre-Christmas, but I appreciate you making time for us at the start of 2024. Big year ahead for us and a big year ahead for you guys, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I want to get into it. I want to know how you guys came together for this particular project, because I know that you've worked on projects before, way before. So, but before we do that, I've got to dial into some old memories that I have of you guys, right? So, Ellie, I don't know if you remember this, but we met way back in the day. I think it was for a Brook Laddie whiskey tour. We went to the island. Do you remember that? And then we were back at the hotel, and it was something like a vote for Scottish independence. So we're probably going back, like, I don't know, about maybe eight years, right? And we were sitting in the hotel, and you said, well, I need to get some cigars. I was like, mate, it is anarchy out there. Everyone's on the streets, they've got the picket fences out. And you went out and got some Romeo and Juliets and got some for the whole gang. I remember that day.
Yeah, you know what? It's only when you just said that last bit about the cigars that it made sense. Because I remember walking through and it was literally the vote, wasn't it, at midnight or something? And then everyone was in the square, and it was just kind of surreal. I was kind of walking past, and everyone was kind of all these signs up, and I'm just like, guys, do you know any way I can buy some Romeo and Juliet cigars? They were like, actually, really, typical Scottish, really friendly about it, But yeah, no, it was, I do remember it. It was, how long ago do you think that was? 8 years?
Oh, way
a long time, right?
Chris, were you on that tour?
I wasn't that tour, but I've been on the Eli cigar trip or alternative before.
The 2 a.m. cigar one.
Yeah.
Not complaining either.
Well, some nice memories. Well, listen, let's get into I want to talk about the brand as well. But first, guys, how did you, Chris, I'll throw this to you. How did you come together with this particular project? What were the stepping stones?
I mean, I guess dates back probably to school, really, when me and Ellie went to school. So we've known each other, together. We've known each other for a long time now. Pretty much best mates from day dot. Well, for me anyway. I'm not sure about Ellie.
Come on,
man. But yeah, friends in school, just had the same interests largely. One of them being fashion, and we set up a men's grooming e-commerce site together. Noticing there's a bit of a gap in the market quite a long time ago again, and then it moved on to a blog which we also co-founded, and then we moved on to Pelota many years later with that experience. So yeah, I mean, it's been a long journey and a lot of learning, but we just felt the time was kind of right to combine the expertise and do something else together.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, Chris missed out the fact that our love for fashion is probably only, bigger than that is our love for sport, right? So, we went to like a boarding school, so it was literally anytime we could, we'll be playing sport non-stop, and we'll go on to a certain competition later. I know you want to ask us about, Pete, but for now, like, we used to be on the same team a lot, which was really good. And, whether it was football or hockey, tennis, squash, you name it, we were generally the same team, and we had a good understanding, and we're very competitive, but at the same time, better on the same team than against. Let's put it that way. So, and I think with Pelota, it kind of seemed like unfinished business in that sense, and that we had done things together before business wise. Obviously, there's the blog and like Chris said, the men's skincare website. But I think with Pelota, it kind of rounded. In fact, when we set up Niven and Joshua initially, the skincare website, sorry, that was actually before that. I don't know if you remember, Chris. We actually said we are going to do a clothing store. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah, way back when. So it kind of closed the loop a little bit, and we'll go into Pelota a bit more. But I think it's just the fact that we just wanted to create something that was kind of representative of us as individuals and together our friendship as well, but also that we felt that the market and the space needs. And for fashion, I suppose we're at a stage of fashion where there is this abundance of choice, there's an abundance of product, there's almost the mindset that, well, there's two mindsets really. There's a lot of reusing, rebuying, and we don't need any more mentality, but at the same time, at the other end of the scale, we can see people buying more stuff than ever. So it's we just wanted to give our own take on the conversation, and I think that's kind of what Pelota is.
Right, interesting. And it's great that you guys are teaming up on this again, like as with previous projects. And I think because you have that history, growing up together, you've got, I assume, like a really good shorthand, which is great for business because you can just be very direct with each other, but also have an implicit trust in each other's capabilities. Would you say that, Chris?
I'd say that's true. I mean, the shorthand could also, I guess it kind of means the same thing, but we've probably got our own language, haven't we?
Definitely, yeah, definitely.
And I mean, unbelievably, and well, perhaps believably, because we've known each other for so long, but we kind of rarely fall out or disagree, and we seem to be always on the same wavelength, don't we? And I think if for any reason we're not, then we're definitely not afraid to just call each other out, and generally always see it as a positive move, don't we? So
yeah, I think that comes from going back to the whole sport link as well. I mean, it's like, when you're playing sport in the same team, you both want to win, right? So it's like, at the end of the day, if one of you is not pulling their weight, and generally as well, I suppose it is a bit of a self-awareness. When you're in a game, if you're not doing something you're meant to be doing in the match, and so if your teammate goes, or if goes, come on, sort that out. Anyway, you're like, yeah, all right, sorry, my bad, and then you just own it, move on, and then I think that's kind of how we've been really. If for any reason we needed to do it, we just kind of just own it and say, yeah, all right, let's crack on type thing.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the brand now. So could you maybe describe to the people that are unaware, how do you describe it to your friends? Chris, I'll throw it to you.
I mean, going back to the sport link again, we kind of saw a bit of a gap whereby you've played your sport, you've had your shower, you're wanting to dress into something a little bit more comfortable but maintain that style. And that's kind of the category that we're going for. We're trying not to call it athleisure. It's kind of like an après sport brand, which probably doesn't exist as a category, which we're quite excited about. It does now. Yeah, exactly. And then, just sort of from there, we wanted to make sure that those clothes were high quality basics. I mean, if you check out the website, you'll notice that there's a lot of sort of essential wardrobe items, and they have to be good quality. Like Ali said, there's so much choice. You've got to stand out on that front, but also beyond just basics, we wanted to have a logo that would identify the brand as well, because there's a multitude of brands coming on stream that were basic, so totally plain, good quality, and we thought that there needed to be a differential. And we kind of saw the rise of logos and didn't want to go that far, but kept it quite subtle. So it's kind of an identifier of the brand, also perhaps makes the wearer feel confident in the fact that they're being identified wearing this product. But again, subtle. So a mix of subtle logo and high quality basics to wear after sport.
Right. Yeah, and that's quite a tricky line to tread as well, isn't it? Having something that's recognizable but not too showy at the same time. So yeah, and I think you guys have traversed that quite well. But also, like, how did you between the two of you come up with the inspirations for the designs of the t-shirts, especially?
Okay, so I don't know if it's a Pelota. The actual is it comes from like an old Basque sport where they used to play. It's a bit like squash, but it's the ball they used. And the reason we chose Pelota as a symbol is because a lot of sports we enjoyed were played with the ball, and so the name simply just meant that we didn't want to specify again. The logo is just simple. So we thought, as it's the first collection we're releasing, the logo does have to be front and center. But I think as time goes by, you'll see us change the use of the logo and where we put it and how we put it across the range. But one of the t-shirts that I really like was one we called the All-Rounder tee. It has 9 different balls on it, different types of ball sports, and then just our logo underneath saying Pelota, which is a ball. So the idea is that All-Rounder is in, and it's a little nod to what we described ourselves as back at school, I suppose. I mean, we were kind of considered like more all-round sportsmen in terms of we could play every sport to a reasonable standard. So we felt anyway. But I thought that was kind of a nod to that really. But also it made it so that the t-shirt wasn't just, like Chris said, a basic for basic sake. It had a bit more to it than that. And as the collections go by, you'll see us use that whole idea of the ball more in the different types of balls and different types of sports, and how that may translate through as the range goes on. But I think that this range, the initial range, was more of is an introduction to the brand. So we wanted to keep it fairly logo centric. Everything is kind of based around the logo. We have a more minimal version with just the P, and what's like a hollow dot type thing. And again, the hollow dot's representative of like almost like a ball, and the P is just our nod to the brand. But we just wanted to keep it like here we are. This is an introduction to Pelota. This is what we do. This is our fit. This is our quality. This is the brand, get to know us. And then from this point onwards, obviously, we're going to start stepping things up.
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting, not surprising that you have quite a strong vision for the brand. So it's not like, let's just see how the first collection does. If it sells, then great. We'll see where we go from there. You obviously have like a couple of legs to the journey mapped out in front of you. How long did it take between the two of you to kind of sketch this out in your mind, the vision for the brand, and like from concept to execution, I guess, Chris?
I think once we got serious about it, it was probably a year's worth of work in progress, I would say. Branding concept, which is Ellie's forte, can probably explain better than me. But concept, and then obviously we had to source the garments, create the designs, create the website, do the photography, come up with a marketing plan. There's a lot to it, but I think once we decided to go for it, it was kind of a year's worth of work to launch.
Yeah, because I mean, it's something that we're doing in addition to what we do, our day job, so to speak. So it's like, we had to carve out the time to do it. Also, at the time, it's like you kind of keeping an eye on things in terms of fashion, where's fashion heading, and because there's a fine line between being, I mean, at the end of the day, our goal is to be stylish rather than trendy. So, being stylish means that we'll always be relevant, whereas trendy means we'll be in and out. And we don't want that. We want something that people buy and keep and grow and go along with the brand. But then at the same time, what we're very conscious, like Chris said earlier, about, there's a big trend at the time, and still is to a degree, but it's kind of fading, about just big logos everywhere. So we think we don't want to fall into that category either. So it was kind of like trying to keep an eye on things. But then we decided, if we're going to do it, we need to get going and at least, put our ideas out there, see how it's received, and then so we can start building from there.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting getting projects off the ground, and I can talk about this tangentially because I'm in the middle of trying to do something myself, but then Christmas happens, or COVID happens, or someone goes on a 2-week, summer holidays. Your business partner's got a kid and now he's unreachable in Center Parcs for 3 weeks. I think the biggest killer for projects is just momentum. Like when the momentum stops, like the idea is great, everyone's really on board and enthusiastic, but then all of a sudden the lines go dry. Getting everybody to pick up the phone again, the emails again, and go, do you remember the idea? Can you get back on board? Where were we with the logo guy? Where were we with the factory? So I think if you have like a good run at it and you keep the momentum going with the project, I always find that is the key of getting anything off the ground that's worth its salt.
That is a very good word you just put there, and it's so true. I mean, even with ourselves, I think what helps is that, because Chris and I know each other so well, it's not that hard to get us going again, actually. It's like it's quite quick because we're kind of used to, we're used to each other, how we work and stuff. We know, and it doesn't take that long, but I completely agree. I mean, it's like, one it can be anything little. Like, for example, I remember when we're trying to, with our hoodies, when we decided to make the order, suddenly, the stockist was on a break, and then they didn't have enough of the certain hoodie style we wanted, and then, it's just loads of little things. And then suddenly your whole order's in a hole because you want to launch them all together. And then one piece is out, and then do you change, do you stick, and all that kind of stuff. And, so yeah, there is a lot to it. And I think that, and the thing about fashion, especially, which is, and there's nothing wrong about it. I mean, it's your taste. At the end of the day, what you like, and that's what's beautiful about it. People, there's so many different types of things for all kinds of people. But at the same time, when it comes from the creation, the manufacturing side, there's a massive difference, because people see a t-shirt with the logo on it, but then you got the guys who are doing like, drop shipping them, where it's just like a really, really cheap, fruit of the loom style, really threadbare tee with a logo on it. And on the screen, it just looks like you see the silhouette of a t-shirt and the logo, and you're thinking, oh, that's a good t-shirt, and that's the same as this. But where the other one is like, 100% organic ring spun cotton, and a certain, a really considered fit. But people on the screen can't tell the difference. But in reality, when you get them, there is. So for us, it was really important for us to take the time to make sure we got that right. And yeah, like you said, momentum's a big part of that.
Yeah, and I think the quality is that's actually a really good point, because I think every guy at some point in their life has had an idea for a t-shirt brand, and then they've kind of run away and fell in love with their own idea. And by the way, I'm making up the numbers here. I had an idea for a t-shirt brand called Con Artists, right? Where you would draw like the great con artists of their day, and they're like sketches. And I got my buddies who were good at drawing, and I got my mum involved, poor girl. So I made these t-shirts, but did some kind of really cheap fruit of the loom crap. And so I just sat on
Sorry,
boxes,
mate. Sorry,
No, but no, I was like, that just jarred a memory. I'm like, oh yeah, I
Sorry.
sat on boxes of crap for ages. But also, I couldn't stand by it. Like, I couldn't evangelize about it because the t-shirts were so crap. The idea might have been okay-ish, but I couldn't, in my right mind or from my heart of hearts, try and sell this stuff to people, because I knew that it was falling apart in an awful, awful fabric. So, but yeah. But let's get into the product itself then. So where did you guys get these garments made, Chris?
Yeah, so we sourced them from a Belgian company who are well known for their basics. And I mean, we probably should have sent you some in advance, Pete, but really happy with the quality. They match kind of all the typical ethical standards, 100% certified organic cotton. So we're kind of really happy with the quality, the sourcing, the manufacture. And then we ship them over to the UK where they're finished. So in terms of labeling, printing, bagging, and all that kind of thing, it's done by UK-based companies.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
And do you kind of pick up these? Sorry, Ellie. Do you pick up these contacts, I guess, through just like your Rolodex and being in the industry so long? How did you stumble upon these guys, Ellie?
You got it. It's exactly that. There's guys who specialize. I mean, they specialize in fashion. They've been in that their whole lives. Chris and I have been in that space, but we kind of dabble. We're more, again, all rounders. I said again, but we kind of dabble from from skincare to fashion to cars, to drinks and so on and so forth. Cigars. Anyway, but there's guys that in the industry we've come across over time where they specialize in fashion, and they know they care about every single thread count and so yeah, I went to a guy called Chris Chasseur. Oh no, I said it wrong. His surname
Chasseur.
Chris Chasseur. That's surname. Sorry. And
Chris, is he Rain's guy?
Yes,
Oh,
no, so he used to do
Norwegian rain.
Norwegian Rain,
Norwegian Rain, that's
exactly.
it.
Used to be work with Norwegian Rain. He's got his own beautiful brand called Malix, which I'm giving a shout out to Malix. Check it out, really beautiful knitwear. But anyway, so I said he's the first guy I had in mind. I was like, look, do you know anyone? And he recommended a few people. And I know that if he's thinking about them, then they're going to be of a certain standard. So it's a great place to start. And then it was a case of, getting samples in hand, actually feeling it, trying it on, seeing the fit, seeing the quality, letting other people try them as well, just so it's not just our own opinion, see what they think and going from there. Because like you said, like your brand, you said, when you got it in hand and t-shirt was crap, you're like, oh, I can't even pretend this is good. And
Can't even get my mum to buy it. Is that bad?
Exactly. I mean,
I think not to diss Pete's brand again, but when you do get it when you get it in your hand, like it has to be good, doesn't it? And otherwise, repeat purchase, or if it's a member of the press, for instance.
Especially you guys as well. Especially you, Chris and Eli. I mean, you guys are in the industry, so to speak. You run commentaries. You got magazines, blogs. You kind of critique other people's stuff all the time. So you can't, get something that's below standard out there and just go, here you go, guys. Honestly, it's great.
And the best thing is, we've got the biggest critique, and that's Chris. No one, I've never, I don't think I've in my whole life met anyone who's as observant and as critical about things such as like fabric as up as Chris is. So I knew that I was so confident once it passed the Chris test. I knew that everyone had to love it because I knew he's so specific about particular about quality. So yeah, once Chris liked it, I was like, that's kind of my like barometer set. If Chris likes it, then I know it's good enough for the world.
There should be a little label inside the t-shirt that's passed the Chris test.
Yeah, exactly.
Signed off each one.
Awesome, great. Well, listen, I'm curious to know now that we've the brand out there, people can buy it, and what's the plan now as part of the marketing strategy? Once you got the finished product, the website's up and running, are we doing any pop-ups or festivals? What's planned for 2024, Chris?
So we've got the first collection out. It's live on the website, and we're pretty happy with the response to it. So obviously next stage is collection 2. I'd say, being honest, we've learned a few things on the way. Perhaps change designs in some respects, but collection 2, and then get it out into the right hands, retarget the customer database. And then from there, really, I think it's time to ramp up probably the paid marketing strategy. It's a case of proving the concept works, which we kind of feel like we've done, and collection 2 will reiterate that. And then stage 3, if you like, would be the paid marketing strategy. And then from there on, I mean, we potentially talking about raising capital, investment, but that's probably getting a little bit ahead of ourselves for now.
Yeah, you got a dream.
Exactly. You've got a dream. We've got a game plan. We're executing it. So we're pretty happy with the path that we're on so far, and we can see where it leads.
And just to add to that as well, we are looking at the next stage does include wholesale as well. We had a couple of inquiries for the first collection, but we didn't feel placed with the amount of stock we had. We didn't feel we had enough to give them enough stock to make it worthwhile, put it that way.
Right.
So we thought, you know what, let's just hold fire. But it's nice that someone inquired to us. We didn't actually reach out, they inquired to us, which was really good. So I think the next step will include, wholesale as well. And also, I know Chris was trying not to give too much away about what we're doing next when he said design. So it's not like a complete redesign of the tees and stuff. It's more about more of a visual cues we're going to be adding to continue telling the story in a new way to the consumer, to give it a real sort of identity, and also the wearers, to let them have something to show that so people know that. Then they know that they're wearing Pelota t-shirt without necessarily having to tell anyone, and that's a little clue as to what's coming. But not too
Nice. So it's basically what you're saying is a free cigar with every t-shirt. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. You got it, man. Cuban rolled t-shirt.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the victory
It's a good
cigar, right?
idea.
You're in the dressing room. You're
Exactly.
you're in the tub with all
Après
the other
sport.
guys. You've won.
Correct.
You've won the league.
Après sport, exactly. Yeah.
I like how you're assuming everyone's winning wearing our stuff as well, Pete.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm more visualizing the tub with. No, I'm not. Anyway, listen, guys. Give the website a shout out. It's just slipped off my page here.
Yeah, it's www.pelota, pelota.cc. And that is pelota.cc.
Great.
So
And
check us out there.
We'll leave links on the show notes as well, and we can hang out with you guys on Instagram as well, and join the journey and make sure you're tuning in. So that's brilliant. Well, guys, great to catch up with you. Congratulations on the brand. I think it looks fantastic, and I look forward to seeing more in the near future.
Appreciate the time, Pete.
All right, guys.
Many thanks.
See you soon.
Cheers, Pete. Bye.
You've been listening to the Menswear Style Podcast. Be sure to head over to menswearstyle.co.uk for more menswear content, and email info@menswearstyle.co.uk if you would like to be a future guest on the show. Finally, please help support the show by leaving a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this podcast. Until next time.